Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
Well, guys, if you read the title of this episode, you probably have an idea what this episode is about. Better idea than I do because I don't know what the title is yet. But
yeah, I don't even know what the title's going to be.
It's probably going to be something like, "Are we on strike?"
Oh, great.
Yeah, okay, so a little inside joke to our other podcast, our D&D podcast. This is the episode we didn't want to have to make.
Oh God.
No, I just like saying that because like all the streamers and everyone on YouTube, when they have to talk about something serious, that's like a what is it called? Clickbait. It's clickbait.
Yeah.
The episode we didn't want to have to record. Well, this is it, guys.
And they all start the same too. It's always like somebody just looking off at the camera and it's just like
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's how we should start. We should start that with this.
Well, guys, this is about the SAG AFTRA and WGA strike. If you don't know, Hollywood is on strike. Mm-hmm. The writers, man, they've been on strike for what, a few months at this point?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think we're coming up on 3.
Yeah, and now the actors have joined, and now things are moving and things are cooking. Hopefully, that's what everyone's saying now that the SAG has joined. But so essentially, everyone's striking for a multitude of reasons. One is better pay. 2 is they don't want to sell their likeness and become AI. Like it's wild.
Mm-hmm.
How this pertains to us, Sam and I, we're not really sure. Don't really know. Neither of us are SAG or SAG eligible, so I think we're in the clear.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I do have some experience as a professional actor, so it's not outside of the realm of possibility that I may have more opportunities at some point, you know?
Yeah.
Especially opportunities with the guild, which would be nice, you know? Mm-hmm. That's the goal. So it's kind of to say that we're going to stop content or strike or anything like it feels to me for our show, it feels kind of silly because I feel like so far away from that world right now, you know? But at the same time, it's in solidarity with all the artists who are doing it. But also just to be safe, because like I said, there is a possibility, there is a chance, as Dumb and Dumber would say. You're telling me there's a chance. There's a chance that I might get professional work again in the future, you know? And so, you know, it's just being safe. Also, Sam and I have plans, you know, for this show, but also for our other show and Cinnamon and Oatmeal. And those would definitely involve guilds because we are also writers as well.
Yes.
So yeah, on top of that, I know there's a lot of content creators online who are stopping or they're changing their content because they're either reaction videos or news videos or whatever, because a lot of them are SAG. Most people in LA are actors who can't get acting work. So they become streamers. But they are SAG or SAG eligible. So they're stopping, they're shutting down, or they're changing their content for the time being. So that makes sense. And on top of that, this one's just a little more personal. It is a show mostly about Lost. And ever since that Vanity Fair article came out, it's just, I don't know. That and then the strike all at once, it just feels kind of icky right now, you know, like we don't really want to. Yeah, we really don't want to mess with that. And I think, you know, I mean, this is small potatoes, but not that it's killed the vibe of the podcast, because I think whatever we talk about, Sam, it's going to be good. Because we're that good. It's going to be fun. So I don't think it's like, I don't want to say like, oh, those the trauma those people went through is ruining my podcast. It's not like that at all. It's just that it does feel a little icky because, you know, we really love this show and we're praising it so much.
Hmm.
So I think it just feels like a natural time to just kind of pause the lost content for now. We'll see what happens with the strike.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah, so we just hope everything gets resolved. And man, there's some murky waters because we got some big ticket movies are coming out like
Hmm.
today. And it's
Oh
like
boy.
we're like there's a strike. Like you're not really supposed to go support these films or promote these
Mm.
films, you know what I mean?
So from my understanding is that it's not there's been no call to like strike going not going to the movies, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Because that kind of defeats the point and the purpose, you know. It's like,
Mhm.
no, like this is, you know, everybody worked hard on these projects. The thing that everybody is asking for is an equal share in the profit,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So, you know, so as far as I can as far as I know, like that's fine. Nobody's been calling saying like, hey, stop watching this show or don't go watch movies.
Mhm.
But what it is when like promotional is involved. So I
Mhm.
don't think that's necessarily even like reviews either.
Mhm.
I think it is mostly just like you're at these events and, you know, for the specific purpose of promoting these movies,
Yeah.
you know. So it's like, but it is like you said, it is kind of murky waters, and you
Mhm.
know that's why there have been a lot of people, you know, on every social media that there is out there right now who have been posting their responses from the WGA and from SAG AFTRA to be like, hey, this is what I do. Is it crossing the picket line if I do X and Y and Z?
Mhm.
And then they'll post up their response, you know, to share it with others. So like I know SAG AFTRA was asking cosplayers because San Diego Comic Con is this week too,
Mhm.
and they were asking cosplayers like, hey, like like do not uh cosplay from properties that would participate or would be caught up in the strike, and that
Mhm.
includes even like past productions,
Mhm.
you know, which
And
is
and
which is kind of what we're caught up in too, because like Lost is done, it's been done for over two
yeah,
decades
but
yeah,
this
so
is where it gets tricky because like I need a list. Tell me what productions you
yeah,
know are striked, being
yeah.
strucken, have been striked. You know, like I need a list. You know, it's easy to say the big streamers, but like what actual companies and all that stuff. Like it's
Hmm.
so it's very confusing.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah.
confusing, and it leads confusion. That's the simplest thing that they could fix right now, especially because that does lead to dissent, maybe even inadvertent dissent, you know, within the union itself,
Hmm.
and also just butting heads with each other because there's a lot of that going on right now. Also, there's a lot of people sharing their opinions online and all this stuff who don't really they don't have any kind of authority within either of the guilds, but you know there are people out there who say no, we're a strike means we're giving up everything, we're not watching the streamers, we're not going to the movies, and you're like, listen to the guilds, listen to the unions, because this is literally why they were created. You
Yeah.
know, let them do their thing. There are stages to this, you know.
Hmm.
It's not, we're not jumping into, you know, pushing the nuclear codes yet.
Yeah.
There's definitely steps. Because also, like the big studios, they already have solutions for that. You know, the only way we're really going to hurt them is if we all cancel our streaming subscriptions, all of us.
Hmm.
Not some, not most, all of us.
Yeah.
But even then, like they already have solutions. They already have plans in place that'll help them recoup from that. And that is canceling stuff, you know? And unfortunately, as we've seen, the first things to get canceled are the shows for marginalized voices.
Yep.
So don't do that. Because right now you have a lot of actors and writers not getting paid, striking, but they still have work at the end of this, whenever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
By hurting them that much, the studios that much, then we're going to have a bunch of writers and actors who are striking who have no work after this, whenever that may be.
Yeah.
So, and that might happen either way, you know, but don't help the studios out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, just listen to the actual guilds themselves. So guilds, union. I just like saying guild more. It sounds more very World of Warcraft, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what does that mean for us? We have no idea.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of like, okay, well, what could we do? Could we watch something else? I'm like, well, everything's on a streamer.
Mm-hmm.
Most everything was a SAG production at some point, you know. So I'm like, oh crap. I was
even.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was gonna say, because I know, like, we've talked a lot about the shows that we're gonna, end up talking about, season 5,000, at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
But just a little while ago, off pod, sure, off pod.
Okay.
Matt and I were talking about, like, yeah, like, what if we get into like Doctor Who? Maybe we should like start doing Doctor Who right now.
Yeah.
Which, like, that's technically BBC, even though it is streaming on Disney right now. So
Is it already on Disney?
yeah, dude, it's been on Disney since Jodie Whittaker.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I want to say after like Flux, I think it got put onto Disney.
Flux that. I was not a fan of Flux at all. Yeah,
we're not here to talk about that right now.
Yeah, yeah. Can we do it if it's not a promotion?
Oh,
we're just
that's
gonna bash Doctor Who Flux.
So the through line here now is that Matt, this Lost Legacies is now a hate podcast. We're going to talk about the things that we hate.
Yep.
Unabashedly and without restraint.
Oh man, I love Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. She just got a bad rap, man. Like,
yeah,
wasn't a fan of that era, mostly because of the writing.
Mm.
But yeah. So anyway, yeah. So like that's BBC America, which I think is partnered with AMC, and it's streaming on Disney Plus. So it's like, I don't know, because I was gonna use this opportunity selfishly and say, hey, maybe this is a good time to watch Dark, because it's all German production. I don't think they're SAG because it's in Germany. And I was like, oh, well, it was a Netflix original.
Yeah.
Like, crap. Damn it. Okay, what if we bootleg a Netflix original?
I wonder no, we're gonna start doing like we're gonna review web shows that are on YouTube.
Yeah, so we're just gonna watch people game.
Okay. No, I was talking about like internet shows like VGHS and
oh wow,
and Chad Vader.
That's a throw. The both of those are throwbacks, man. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. But
see, if we had a React show like on YouTube, that would be so easy. We would just react to other stuff, you know. But
how?
Well, it's the same thing you do anything, you know. Oh, I'm going to react to this episode of Star Trek. You just find other stuff. We could react to Chad Vader.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of weird on a podcast. Like, okay, we're going to talk about this obscure web series for whatever. I was actually thinking maybe this would be a good time to watch Final Space, because it's not streaming anywhere. And one, animation already has different rules, so I don't exactly know what that is in regards to the strike. But also, HBO purged it. It's not streaming or for sale anywhere online. You might be able to find DVD copies somewhere. So I thought that would be interesting. You know, I don't know. That's a thought.
And
But
there
of
are three
course,
seasons worth, so you know.
yeah, and they're what, like 10 episode seasons? I don't know.
I think so, yeah.
But of course, nobody wants the strike to go on that long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So, and it sucks too because our buddy Dan on Twitter was sending us lost questions that I really wanted to get into.
I
So,
know.
Dan, we'll get back to you after the strike because they're
I'm
good
gonna
questions too. And I was like, oh wow, I'm really gonna have to think about that because
Dan
I hadn't thought of that at all. He really threw me for a loop there. Um,
Dan, I'm gonna have to write those questions down just in case Twitter implodes by the time we get back to talking about Lost.
yeah, who
You
knows?
know? Um yeah, shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say.
I don't know.
Well, you know, like this could this could open up new possibilities for us if we decide to go a final space, because one, I know the fandom has been clamoring for like more stuff, final space, any news, any tidbit, anything like that.
Mm,
So, you know, like that might actually be, that might
hmm.
actually be something, worthwhile to do, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does kind of feel like giving the finger to HBO.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know what I
Because
mean?
yeah. Because I mean, yeah, just look at the stuff that Olin Rogers has done, since like the Godspeed Kickstarter, just was
Hmm.
like fully funded day one.
Yeah.
And yeah, and now the Final Space graphic novel,
Hmm.
like yeah, again, like fully funded, and like there was a fan base, and yeah, Zaslav and Warner Brothers just nixed it for a tax write-off, and I think that'd be a cool fu to that decision. Oh, and especially because now the Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network are unionizing. They're voting for
Oh,
unionization.
nice.
Yeah,
Look, I have
yeah.
Blu-ray right here. It was under a bunch of D&D books and the Downton Abbey movie. Hmm. I don't know. Okay, mate, let's think about this. Maybe this is an option. Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like each episode or each season's 10 episodes.
Hmm.
Oh, maybe more. Interesting.
I remember season one, I think, was 10 episodes,
Yeah.
but I think two and three were longer.
Yeah. Um yeah, I'm kind of curious what the rules are in animation because like Legends of Vox Machina isn't included in the strike.
Hmm.
Wait, no. Maybe I got that wrong. Well, I don't know. Because when I first heard it, they said it wasn't for whatever reasons. But
Okay.
then later, someone said Critical Role definitely isn't. But they weren't sure how that was going to affect Vox Machina or not.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I wonder if because Critical Role essentially made it themselves. Of course, they had a lot of help of Amazon money wise, but
Mhm.
like I think rights and whatever contracts they made, like it's still considered an independent thing. It's
Mhm.
all this
Which
is
is
all this is showing us is how little we need the big studios. You know,
yeah.
like we need to figure out how to stream our own stuff. But because if the whole world's gonna be watching your show, your internet's gonna blow up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like man, I don't know.
Well, to that point, talking about like, because Critical Role, it could potentially count as like an indie production. That was kind of the big thing too. SAG-AFTRA is allowing waivers,
Hmm.
for truly independent studios and
Hmm.
projects. And I think the biggest thing to come out of this is A24.
Hmm.
A24 now has permission to still, have their actors, everybody involved in their projects to still come and work and talk about their projects and promote their stuff,
Yeah.
because A24 as a company agreed to everything that SAG-AFTRA was demanding.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like that. And it's
Exactly.
like, that's incredible.
That's how you
And it
do it.
shows you how easy it is.
So yeah, exactly. So I think so that's probably different because they agreed. to it, their waivers are probably different.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, if it's under 28K for your feature, you can still continue doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I think Mark Ruffalo was talking about it. Like he's really trying to talk a lot of actors into go indie. Just because we're striking doesn't mean we can't work. Go
Mm-hmm.
work on indie films because that'll
Mm-hmm.
help them, give them cred. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like you take the pay cut. You know, and it's like hell yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm.
strike. I'll work for $1. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so that's something else I want to talk about, guys. There's a lot of confusion, discourse. I think it's mostly just keyboard warriors, though, so I don't really care what they think.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people keep saying, like, why do these actors just want more money and blah, blah.
Oh
It's just
yeah.
millionaires complaining. That's not what this is. This is probably not going to affect Tom Hanks, or Tom Cruise. Uh, I mean, it's just not. This is going to really affect everyone else. People don't really think of it that way, but like the blue collar workers, the other actors. And it's very telling now because we're seeing all these people come out and talk from TV and stuff. So you watch your show and you have your lead, this might affect them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like your co-lead. So I don't know, we'll talk like the Sabrina show. I don't know why. Kiernan Shipka, of course, I picked the show with the girl's name I can't pronounce.
Mm-hmm.
Sabrina, I'm pretty sure she's fine financially. I don't really know how much this strike is going to affect her, especially because she got a lot of roles during and after that series.
Mm-hmm.
The Ants, the Friends,
Mm-hmm.
there's I guarantee you there's a big gap of wages. I don't know how big that gap is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for the Ants because they're older and they have more experience, they get a bigger bump
Mm-hmm.
because that is a thing. Even if it's less screen time, they'll still give a bump because of your name or experience. But yeah, there's some shows out there where there are people who show up in every episode, have a couple lines, people remember the character names, and like they're still not even making enough money for rent. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's such a big pay disparity, and here's something, another thing that's kind of like people can't really get their head around. When you go work a job, typically you get paid X amount of money to do one job, and then you're done. You move
Mm-hmm.
on. That's typically freelance. For the longest time, that was acting. And then if you're lucky, if you're popular or successful in your business negotiations, you'll get some kind of residuals. So like, okay, you get paid one time, but if the movies makes over X amount of money, they're going to give you a certain percent. That's brilliant,
Mm-hmm.
or and that includes like toys, action figures, But now with streaming, all of that is really changing because the residuals aren't really um like connected the way they used to be,
Mm-hmm.
and or it just doesn't count at all because there's so many people out there who you get an action figure of yourself, you're not getting paid for that, you know
Yeah.
so you have to think about it like that, like, well, wait a second, you get paid for one job, but then they whoever you're working for, the studios in this case, continue to make money off of your work
Mm-hmm.
constantly. They're getting paid, you're getting nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's like cents, there are
Mm-hmm.
people who are on huge successful shows and they're making like a quarter a year,
Mm-hmm.
25 cents a year off a show they did. This
Mm-hmm.
was a huge Emmy winning show, I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking of the lady from Orange
Orange
is
is
the
the
New
New
Black.
Black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just it's wild.
Mm-hmm.
And another reason why they're striking is because they're trying to replace them. Now they're talking about AI. We don't want to pay them 25 cents in residuals a year. So we're just going to have the AI do it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just crazy. So if you support blue collar workers, this should matter to you
Mm-hmm.
because this is affecting everyone, not just Hollywood, but the way businesses are going to run, the way businesses are going to treat their employees. Hollywood, it's both a good and bad thing. Hollywood is like the standard, maybe, for a way a lot of the world runs. So if they
Yeah.
continue to shaft the little guy, the rest of the world's going to do it. And we're seeing it right now, man. Like UPS is about to go on strike.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? I think the hotel industry is about to go on strike, or they already are. Not the
Mm.
hotel industry. The what's it called?
Oh, airline.
Airline. I think hospitality.
Yeah, hospitality
The
services. Yeah.
hospitality industry is about to go on strike,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it's all connected, man. It's one economy. It's all
Oh
connected.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So this does matter to you.
Yeah. And to your point, it's like there's a reason why people like Ron Perlman or Snoop Dogg are coming out and giving these talks and these speeches, in support of, strikes, or talking about these things. It's because they're using their fame and they're
Yeah.
using their popularity to get the message across, to say, hey, like this is going to affect me, but if this affects somebody like me and I have, the clout, if I have the money,
Mhm.
think about the people who don't.
Yeah.
I saw a video yesterday that was Snoop Dogg. He was giving a talk. It was in front of a bunch of, like, I think, like business professionals or something like that. But essentially he was coming after Netflix, and he was saying, like, when I was making music in the 90s, my all my sales were based on how many physical copies of CDs I sold. So if I
Mhm.
sold X amount, that meant that this much money was made. That means that these guys got a percentage, I got a percentage, all that stuff. We could track it so easily, and that's how we made money.
Mhm.
That doesn't exist with the Netflix platform, because you can have 150,000 streams. Where's the money? They're
Exactly.
telling me that, there's there's no way to track it, or that it's a failure or anything like that.
Mhm.
But you have these shows that are, the top 10 most watched,
Mhm.
and
And
there's no money being made.
that's
So
what's the
he's
crazy.
using.
That's
Yeah.
that's the crazy thing too. Like streaming has been taking over like the last 10, 15 years. Streamers can do it. You
Yeah.
can see exactly how many hundreds of thousands of people are watching Critical Role at once. You
Mm-hmm.
mean Netflix can't tell me how many views they get
Mm-hmm.
consecutively? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just they just don't want to. That's the thing. They
Yeah,
don't want to
it's
reveal that info.
yeah,
And
they don't want to reveal that info, one, because of greed.
yeah.
They want to keep all the profits for themselves, and two, I bet you dollars to donuts, uh if they revealed their, like, viewing habits, or however that works, there are going to be shows that are, like, their views for certain shows are going to be marginally disproportionate
Mhm.
to others. The shows that, like, I would venture, like, like the shows that were, canceled after like 2 seasons or something like that.
Mhm.
Bet you they have more streams, more viewing than,
Yeah.
movies that were, like, that just didn't do well. you
Yeah,
know
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're hiding their numbers for sure.
and they even said like the the highest paid top 10 highest paid executives in Hollywood from the streamers, the studios, if they each gave up 2% of their salaries, they would have more than enough to pay everyone they're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
2% of like what Iger's making like 28 million or whatever a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
I don't even know about Zaslav. He's like 40s or 50s, something huge.
Yeah.
And I'm
Something
like,
ridiculous.
dude, like 2%, like come on, man. That's not gonna you're not even gonna notice that, you
Yeah.
know? Your accountant is probably stealing that much and you don't even notice it. Like,
Right.
tell you,
And
man,
that's that
it's very
that
easy for a 6 to become an 8 on your taxes. That's why you
mm-hmm.
always use pencil.
Exactly. And that's the thing that gets me too, is like WGA, what kickstarted this whole thing, they weren't even asking for a lot. They were
Yeah.
asking for like that 2 or 5%, or something like that. It was small. It was
Yeah.
such a small amount that they were asking for, and they were told no.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know what? I like I know we're all, like, I know WGA has been at this, for a while, but still like early days for a lot of these strikes. More industries, more services are going to potentially go on strike. It's like, you're lucky, studios and executives, that they're only asking for less than the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Writers were asking for, livable wages,
Yeah.
so that, they could afford healthcare. There are famous writers and there are famous actors out there, and you can find them easily. I'm not, I'm not Google, but you can use Google, you can use Twitter, whatever you're using. They're out there and they're talking about it because everybody's talking about it right now.
Yeah.
uh you can find them. There are famous actors and writers are who don't have health insurance because they
Mm-hmm.
can't afford it, because they're not being paid what they're owed. So
Mm-hmm.
these studios are very lucky that they're asking for such a minuscule amount when they really should be asking for more.
Yeah. And now that SAG's jumped in the words of Andrew Garfield, I'm coming for everything. What was that
Yeah,
movie?
Social Network.
There you go. That's what it
Yeah.
was. So yeah, man, it's crazy. It's greed. That's all it is. And like, and it's not even the old school thinking of like, well, I earned this. This is mine. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting paid X amount of money to kind of oversee things, but like, again, nobody really knows. Like, nobody really knows what your job is. Of course, there's some big decisions, and like people like Iger, we see his day-to-day impact on the company, on Disney. So
Sure.
it's like, so Iger, you can't really make that argument with. It's like, okay, cool. But at the same time, man, there's just the pay disparity in Disney, period. Not even just the actors or writers, but in the parks. Like, it's crazy, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how how is this acceptable? Like, morally speaking, how is this acceptable to you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, now there's the whole concept of I'm not playing devil's advocate, but you do need to understand that the less the executives make, it's so dumb. It's like the less clout the company has, and it's this whole hiring process thing. In order to keep your status and keep your power amongst everyone, I don't know. You got to keep meeting these marks. It's something I'm slowly starting to learn. The more I'm getting into like stock buying, shareholding, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. Um, Basically, that's not just how much the CEO is making. That also holds a part of like the value of the company. So that I can understand, but it's like, you do understand everyone going on strike is going to take down the value of your company regardless. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, you need people to want to work with you, not people who have to work with you. But it
Mm-hmm.
seems like they don't care. Like, I how did we come to this? What's that movie from? Or what's that line from?
Is that Lord of the Rings?
I feel like it is, right?
Yeah, it's
Oh, is
when
it Theoden?
yeah, it's stated Bernard Hill in Two
Yeah.
Towers after his speech. He's like, "How did it come to this?"
No,
Which I
no,
was just reading an article on Tor.com that said Theoden has the best lines in Lord of the Rings,
Oh, hell yeah.
the
And
movies.
something else that pisses me off that I just saw. Stop making vertical videos with AI. Nobody cares. I keep seeing them on the social medias because I just saw the Ride of the Rohirrim in vertical. I'm like,
Yeah.
now, that is something I want to see, but I want it done for real. You
Hmm.
know, I saw, guys. If you've been with us for a while, you might know a little of my backstory. Uh,
Ooh, Matt lore is about to drop.
ooh, I did used to go rock climbing, a bit through college, here and there. Never too much, I wouldn't say I was any good at it. I'm still feeling some of my injuries, like 10 plus years later. But I love bouldering so much. And I would always, it was like that time period where like DVDs were dying out. So like I would buy some DVDs or I would buy like the online. So like, oh, we're going to be streaming this new rock climbing video and all this stuff. Well,
Mhm.
there was one that filmed beautiful camera, widescreen. Uh, and then somewhere along the way, they're doing their cool hip music. The camera just slowly adjusts and it's vertical.
Mm.
And well, like not like so you're watching it and it's still widescreen, but everything turns on the side. So I was like, oh, that's weird. So I just grabbed my laptop and put it on the side. I'm like, oh, and it worked so well because they were climbing.
Yeah.
It's a vertical sport. So it made sense. I'm like, yeah, yeah, this is what I want. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I'm like, this is
Hmm.
so cool. Ever since then, I'm like, how can I incorporate this into filmmaking? It only works if you have vertical screens because
Yeah.
otherwise you have a big blank screen and you're just watching a little sliver in the middle.
Yeah.
No, I want an IMAX size screen that's a vertical. Give me that.
Wow.
But
I
it's
don't know
got to
about
be the right
that.
movie. Think of like, oh
I like
man.
you know what I'm thinking? It's gotta be a movie where like you're either climbing up or you're going down. So I'm thinking like
Oh,
something like
mm,
The Descent, something like The
mm.
Raid,
Oh, the raid would have been rad. Okay,
Dread.
so I don't want to give any spoilers, Sam, but there
Uh-oh.
is a fight scene in John Wick 4 where they
Ooh,
use the bird's eye view, and it's
I've
this
heard.
entire sequence. Think
Uh-huh.
of that,
For a
but
whole
vertical. So the camera won't even
oh.
be moving. You
Oh,
just see
weird.
little Keanu moving up your screen, fighting like an ant. That would be so sick.
Not gonna lie. I kind of love that actually.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So the Ride of the Rohirrim, it's supposed to be about this grand army coming to save the day. I want to see them. You need the widescrreen. I don't
Oh
care
yeah.
about the hill beneath or the beautiful sunset above. Like I need to see the
Sunrise.
army. Sunrise. I need to see the army. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like that makes no sense. Like plus it was AI, so it's not real. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Give a give someone a damn camera and go film it. Do it yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not opposed to vertical filming, but it's got to be thematically right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe we're just gonna call this the bitching episode.
With purpose.
Yeah. Bitches with a purpose. I've been called worse.
As have I.
Well, guys, we're not gonna stop losting or legacying. Um, we just don't know, what exactly we're going to do. I think we're definitely going to consider Final Space.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
Conversely, my wife, friend of the show,
ooh,
also suggested that we turn this into like a nature podcast where you and I actually go hiking and get lost.
oh God, this was their legacy.
we're gonna be the subject of like a weird like documentary at some point,
Yeah.
if we go do that.
Wow. Hey, man. All I'm saying is that if you take the map of all the missing cases, missing people's cases in America,
Hmm.
and you superimpose it over a map of the largest cave systems in America,
Hmm.
all I'm saying is like they're pretty identical.
Yeah.
Now that's kind of the conspiracy theorist, Matt. In reality, I think like, yeah, of course, because those are like the higher populated areas around the cities and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or it's
Did
just
you
actual cave people.
did you know the Appalachian Mountains have been here since like the beginning? Have been
Yeah.
here since like the formation of the continents?
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. I didn't know that until like a little while ago,
I
and it's baffling to me.
yeah.
It's like it's an amazing fact, but it's also something that like low key terrifies me. Like that's eldritch horror to me, is the fact that like there's this physical space that has been here since before anything has been here.
Right. It's
Like
kind of crazy because
wild.
like, I don't want to base an entire people off of the media or the news, but when you hear the
Mhm.
scary stories from the Appalachians, they're scary, man.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do the Appalachian Trail, though. I would definitely go in a group.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
But
a
a group
big
I
group.
trust.
Yeah, I'd go in a big group for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, I'm just so fascinated by that land, and it's
Mhm.
so beautiful in a Eldridge kind of way. So, in the meantime, I don't know. I've been reading comic books.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna make some comic book recommendations before we sign off. I just finished Batman: The Adventures Continue seasons 1 and 2. This is canon in continuity continuation of the 1990s cartoon that we all grew up on. It's awesome. They're taking actual like story arcs from the comics, kind of like Jason Todd, and putting it in the continuity. So
Mhm.
cool. So I finished the first two, and the third and last one is supposed to come out in a few months
Ooh,
in
nice.
trade. And then yesterday I read it in one sitting, Sam, and like I can't sit still. So that was something. I read Volume 1 of Dark Knights of Steel. It's the
Ooh.
DC universe imagined in a fantasy setting.
Mhm.
It's so cool. They even have character sheets in the back for like you D&D nerds like we are.
Oh, oh, I can't
It's
wait.
it's so awesome, and it's one of those things too where like it's not. I have a lot of issue with DC right now.
Sure.
I feel a lot of it is just gratuitous for shock value. You
Yeah.
know
Yeah. Yeah.
what's cool about this is it does a really good job world building and setting up all the characters, and then all of a sudden it takes a hard left turn, and you're like, oh man, okay, and then you get to the next issue, and you're like, oh, I see why they did that, and then
Mm.
again end of the issue, big twist. You're like, oh, damn it. Next issue. Oh, I see why they did that. So it's very shocking,
Mhm.
but a lot of it is in service of the world building. It's like, oh, this is okay, like this makes sense.
Hmm.
This is how this character would be in this setting. You know? Like,
Okay.
yeah, so it's really cool. It's written by Tom Taylor.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he's done a
He's done a
lot.
lot. He's done all the Injustice comics, a lot of like Superman.
Yeah.
What was it? Deceased.
Yeah,
The
yeah, he did
Yeah, the
Deceased,
zombie DC universe. Yeah.
which was I think a lot cooler than the Marvel one. That's for sure. And it's in like canon, right? It's continuity,
Kind of.
kind of, right?
It's weird. That's a weird one.
Yeah, I love it. So go check it out. Dark Knights of Steel Volume 1. It's already like out, but like part 2 isn't released in hardcover till December, so
Mm,
I gotta wait. But now I'm
mm.
thinking like, man, I gotta make these characters in D&D or in Baldur's Gate 3, which comes out in like a month or two. So that's Matt's
Cool.
recommends.
Cool.
What about you, Sam? What are you up to?
Well, reading, not comic books, but actual books. Well, okay, that's rude. That's really rude. Let me do that
How
take
dare
again.
you, you son of a.
Let me do that take again. Doing a lot of reading book wise. Also doing but doing it audio, because nature of my job is I can't just like sit and read something for a long time. Um but yeah, doing a lot of audiobooks. Took a trip where I got to listen to all of Travis Baldry's Legends and Lattes. So good, so phenomenal. Um if you like Studio Ghibli movies, you're gonna like this. It's like a Studio Ghibli movie in a book form. And I say that not to like bemean or discredit or sorry, like belittle or discredit what Studio Ghibli does, what like Hayao Miyazaki does, because I think a lot of people think Hayao Miyazaki, they're like, oh yeah, it's so cozy and there's no drama, like Totoro, it doesn't have a plot or whatever. I'm like, no, it does, and it's not always cozy all the time. There is a plot, and a lot of it is about growing up and the pain of growing up and the pain of never being able to get back to the place where you were before and how that changes you for the better. Sometimes that's not cozy.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in Hayao Miyazaki's case, he does things like, Princess Mononoke, which is not a cozy fantasy at all. It's war. It does have this fantasy thing, but it is war and it's terrifying. So now that mini rant is over, there is still a lot like yeah, like Legends and Lattes has that exact same vibe. It is about somebody who has been an adventurer, who has bloodied their sword their whole life, taking a hard left in the other direction, no longer wanting to do that, no longer wanting to be defined by how they look. We're following an orc who has a giant black bloody sword, who doesn't want to do that anymore, and who opens a coffee shop in a small town. Nobody knows what coffee is, but she does, and she's bringing this coffee to these people.
That's so
And
cool.
it's great, man. It's so great because it's also like it's exactly that. When you've been one way your entire life, when you've solved all of your problems with the sword, with violence, and then you try and do something else, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And it's great, and it's like it's so great. It's sapphic and it's fun. It feels a little bit like Labyrinth too. One character in
Mm-hmm.
particular like just feels like Hoggle, the goblin from Labyrinth. And yeah, it's great. So definitely recommend it. Also, the
Nice.
sequel is coming out soon, or not the sequel. I'm sorry, the prequel. Bookshops and Bone Dust.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that. Also, another book started reading, haven't finished it, but I'm gonna give it a recommendation anyway. The Starless Sea by
Mm,
Aaron Morgenstern.
yes.
I don't even know how to begin to describe this book. It's a it's stories within stories. It's fantasy, like not even like urban fantasy. It's just fantasy. It is fantasy set in our world.
Yeah, like it kind of has like it fools you with this kind of like magical realism, and then you're like, oh no, no, this is really magic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and it's such and it's beautifully written. If you listen to the audiobook, the stories are told beautifully. There are a bunch of different narrators in it.
yeah.
Uh yeah, and it's great. I kind of don't know how else to describe it, so
I
just go off of that.
easily one of my favorite books, if not the favorite. Like it's up there with House of Leaves. I was looking for it.
Mhm.
I was like, "Where's my copy?" I'm like, "Oh, it's right here under my laptop."
Wow. Damn. Ooh, the hardcover. Oh, look at
Ooh,
that.
try and find the
Look at
hard
that.
guys. If you find this book, try to find the hardcover. Get it on eBay or something because it's
Mhm.
so beautiful.
Not even for the dust jacket. Like it's what's underneath the
Yeah, it's
dust
what's
jacket.
underneath.
Yeah.
I want that tattoo of the bee, the key, and the sword.
Yeah.
I've listened to it on audio, and I'm like started reading it again just to
Ooh.
hold it. Um, the best way to describe it is a line at the very beginning that says, to paraphrase, "This is a metaphor. but it's also real. I love it. I love this book. I've always thought about that. Like, I love the idea of doing like, because I've never really been a fan of short stories or like a book of short stories.
Oh, interesting.
The only ones I really enjoyed was Kelly Link, but we've discussed about this off pod.
Yeah.
Her stories just end like right before, like it's really getting good. I'm like, damn it, Kelly.
At least a lot of the early ones.
Yeah, the ones I've read,
opinion. Yeah.
But still love you, Kelly Link. I kind of had the idea of what if you do a book of short stories, but the deeper in you get, you realize, oh, they're all connected. It's actually one big story. That kind of is what this feels like, because it is a bunch of short stories that are kind of weaving in and out of each other. Like it's really this weird, surreal, magical ride. Have you got to the part about the innkeeper yet?
Yeah. Where like it's like the storm. It's like snowing and
that might be like my favorite chapter of any book I've ever read.
Yeah.
I was like at work listening to it and I'm just like, I think I'm crying at work. I'm like, oh my God.
I was driving, listening to it and like zoning out because it was such a beautiful chapter. Like, yeah.
Fortunes and Fables, the inn at the edge of the world. That's the one I have bookmarked. I was like, oh my God. I would love to like just read that out loud or like perform that or something. Like I don't know. I just love that chapter so much. So that's actually a lot of inspiration for a D&D character I had. So yeah. We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
Donager, my giant turtle guy. Also, speaking of D&D, you mentioned coffee. One of the very first D&D characters I came up with in my head, I didn't roll them, I didn't write it down, was a goblin who wants to build the world's greatest coffee shop. So he's traveling the world looking for like these super rare coffee beans. But he's a barbarian because he gets really, really angry if he doesn't have his coffee. That was like the first, that was like, I think after like Vincent Van Rollen, my gunslinger, I think that was like my first like D&D character I made. I was like, wow, I like this guy. Oh, his name is Ross.
I just Ross the Goblin?
Coffee shop, friends, Ross. You know, I'm just like, yeah.
Of all of them, you chose Ross?
Oh, because he's a total Ross, but then like he turns into a barbarian. You know, like
no.
I don't know why. I'm not even a fan of Friends, but I'm like, that's Ross.
Oh man.
Goblin Barbarian. That might be my main character in Baldur's Gate 3. Ross, you see, guys, this is why you should be playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Because you can do anything and be anything. You can
do anything. Your only limit is your imagination. And with that, we're going to let you go, guys. On a high note. Much more positive. As always, hit us up on the socials. # Lost Legacies. I'm on Twitter at _Matt Jimenez. And on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch. Is Threads still going strong?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I might make it Threads.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Reel, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
Until next time, get lost.
Get lost.